Matt Blumberg, one of my distinguished guests on Pale Blue Nexus, has joined me today. Matt, I haven't figured out where you live from geography-wise, but it looks like maybe the Northeast. But welcome to the show, and kindly give yourself an introduction.
Thanks, Yohann. Good to see you. I live just outside New York City, so good call on the Northeast. You would not know from my backyard that I live 7 miles from New York City.
I don't
But
know what it was. I think it might have been the evergreens because
that could
they're
be.
very familiar to me.
Yes, it is that. It is that time of the year.
Yeah. So, well, welcome. Glad to see a fellow Northeasterner. I'm up here in Toronto, so good to have you on the show today. Tell us about Markup, and your role in it. And it's an older company, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's a really interesting story. So I'm the CEO. The company's called Markup AI, and I've only been at the business for about a year and a half. The company is 25 years old. And it has a really, really interesting story. We got started in 2002 as a carve out from something called the Berlin Artificial Intelligence Institute.
Wow.
So 2002 is a long time ago, and there was an academic institution in Germany called the AI Institute. And that's where the company's original technology was built. The company got carved out. It was called Acrolinx. And over the course of, 20 some odd years, built a really, really compelling business on top of a unique natural language processing stack. So in fact, it was AI, but it was AI before large language models. And the company made a decision in 2024 that almost all of its customers were in the US. And that the business really needed to pivot and become a contemporary agentic AI business. So the board went through a search process and found me, and I joined in early 2025. I brought in a lot of folks that I've worked with over the last 15 or 20 years across multiple companies in the tech space. And basically, we built and actually just last week launched our new platform. So we renamed the company, and the new platform is called Markup AI. It's a really powerful agentic AI platform to help enterprises keep their content safe and ready to publish. So we have agents that do brand, accuracy, compliance, and AI search visibility. And that's our platform. That's our business. We cover any surface imaginable because we're available through MCP server, through API, and through a Chrome extension that integrates with just about every application you can imagine. So we work with writers, we work with editors, we work with large companies across all verticals. And again, the story behind the business really is content is the next code.
Mm-hmm.
The infrastructure layer around coding assistance is pretty well developed at this point. Content is where most enterprises are now turning their attention in terms of getting the true power of large language models and the productivity benefits that come with them. But like the early days of LLMs with coding, there are lots of guardrails missing. So that's what we're building, and that's what we launched last week. And we serve about 120 enterprise customers, mostly large Fortune 500, Global 2000, that we're now migrating from our NLP stack over to the agentic stack. And we are open for business for smaller companies as well. The new stack is super easy, self-serve. A single user can onboard and get going in minutes.
Wow. So tell me some of the benefits that your customers are experiencing from using Markup in the agentic stack.
Yeah, there is a productivity benefit. There is which is a very clear ROI benefit. There's a real quality benefit. And there's some benefits that I always describe as the previously unthinkable, which is really the magic of AI, right? It's not just that you do things faster, it's that you do things you just couldn't do before. So let me give you a couple pieces of color on that. One of our clients really succinctly put it the other day. She said, look, we fired all of our writers. We put it all in the hands of LLMs. And now my team and I that are left spend 80% of our time fixing content that comes out of LLMs. So LLMs have turned people from writers into editors.
Yeah.
Um, so using our platform, we really streamline that process. We can fix a tremendous amount of content. Our agents using deterministic rule sets. We know when to put the human in the loop if there's something that requires their inspection as opposed to just fixing. So all that's around quality and productivity. And the kind of thing you can do with us that you couldn't really do before, so what I call the previously unimaginable, is you can use our API to check a repository of content of limitless size. Um, I'll give you a couple examples. One of our clients told us the other day, "Oh, we just did this big acquisition, and the brand of the company we acquired is all off. It's not our brand.
Hmm.
Can we use you to fix the brand?" And the answer is yes. We can scan 5 million pages of support documentation of marketing for that brand, and flag everything that doesn't conform or needs to conform or fix it automatically.
Amazing. And may I ask, do you do this in the cloud or do you do this on your own servers?
Um, we are native cloud-based application,
Okay.
for sure. So when we run in an AWS instance, and that's where everything is located. But obviously we do draw on the LLMs, and we do most of them
Right.
through AWS Bedrock.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my one of the things I've been toying around recently is like with open source models and things like that. And I don't know where you stand on that, but you sound like you might be using some frontier model.
We are, yeah, yeah. We actually use different models. We we have lots of different agents and different use cases, and one of the sort of value props we have to clients is that we make sure that we're using the right model, the most efficient model, and that anytime we switch models, we're doing all the exhaustive eval work to make sure that the output is consistent for the customer. So we have a lot of things running on Gemini, we have things running on Anthropic, we have things running on some of the open source models as well.
What kind of evidence do you gather um, to say like you're helping your customer with uh, guarding their content, for example? Like, how do you prove that?
Well, it's fairly easy with our analytics and reporting module because everything that we do for a client's content, what we're doing is we're checking their content against a particular standard.
Hmm.
So the reporting and analytics just comes back to how many things did we catch and fix
Okay.
against a given standard. So I'll give you some examples. So for brand, which is one of our swim lanes, um, the standards could be a company's terminology dictionary or glossary of preferred terms, or it could be their brand and style guide. And some corporations have brand and style guides that are hundreds and hundreds of pages long.
Yeah.
Even smaller ones have brand and style guides that are 20, 30 pages long. So anytime we do a pass at a document or a web page and correct it, we can say, oh, we found 82 errors, we fixed them. Um, Same thing if we're doing compliance checking um, for a particular law that the client cares about based on its jurisdiction or its vertical. How many things did we flag for human in the loop? Similarly, for AEO and GEO, sort of that AI search visibility, how many things did we find, flag, and fix that are going to improve AI search visibility? And then the same thing for accuracy. When we do accuracy work, how many things did we find and flag against the deterministic source that needed to be corrected?
Right. Well, I
And
talked
by the, and
about.
our system rates everything low, medium, high. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of things we find that like, all right, great, we put another comma in. Okay, you want your content to be consistent, but no one's going to get fired because the comma's missing.
Yeah.
That's a little different than a pharmaceutical company putting out marketing that doesn't actually speak the truth about the drug, where someone could get fired or someone could die. So,
Yeah.
that's an extreme example on either side.
What do you think about the I talked about this on a taping yesterday, but like the agent to agent economy, and people are talking about you're going to be talking and your brand is going to be represented by another uh is going to be assessed by an agent um in at some point in the future. So it may not be a human reading the web page anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it's an interesting world, like the talk about the metaverse, I guess. And a lot of people are starting to talk about this sort of two-track internet, the human to human and machine to machine, and the crossover between those two. The reality is you can do some things to optimize your content for machine readability, but most machines are trained to read human content and actually look for signals of human content.
Right.
So we have agents like the AI search and AI visibility agents that know the rules for AEO and GEO and will make the text conform to those rules, which sort of gets to machine readability. But if you really look underneath the hood with those rules, a lot of those rules are about the content being authentic, about being
Hmm.
fresh, about being accurate, and all those things are human rules. So I'm not sure at the end of the day that this two-track internet is exactly going to unfold the way it sounds. Um, but to the extent that it does, that just means that people are going to need to version their content A and B, uh,
Right.
and uh, and that's what our agents are designed to do.
You mentioned the word metaverse. Did you go through that
I don't
that
mean
whole
I don't mean
cycle?
I don't mean the metaverse, but
Yeah.
but it is let's call it a multiverse.
Right, right. Did you go through that sort of cycle with NFTs and metaverse? Just randomly a
Personally, I
question.
didn't engage that much in it. I mean, I know what all that is, but my businesses have always been a little more boring than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, speaking of which, Matt, what do you do for fun as a father and as a CEO?
Um, I have lots of fun in lots of different ways. I've got 3 great kids. They're late teens, and, I love having fun with them. It's great to have everyone home for the summer from the different, schools that they're at, and, one of them likes to golf, and so do I, so we do a lot of golf. A couple of them like to watch movies, and, we do a lot of that. Um, and, love hiking, love spending time with my wife. And I would say sort of the intellectual interests for me are have always been around American history and politics.
Hmm.
So I exercise that one in lots of different ways. I'm doing a lot of vibe coding at the moment. So
Nice.
like to keep busy.
The thing about history is like I never watch historical movies because I know the movies are written by the winners, and it's like I don't want to be lied to, right? So how do you tell in history what's real and what's not?
Um, I think with all content, and increasingly so with AI, all content, um, people need to bring
Check with,
healthy skepticism to it,
yeah.
and really understand how to look for signs of credibility. Um, it's one of the things I wish schools taught kids a little bit more, because I think the internet has kind of done a lot to break that in lots of ways. So I feel like I have pretty finely tuned radar at this point, but I worry sometimes that teenagers don't. Although, quite frankly, teenagers are pretty good at spotting video fakes in ways that you might not catch as an adult.
Yeah, teenagers are good. My 5-year-old isn't as good. He just watches these cat videos that the cats are doing all of these weird different things, and it's AI, but he doesn't care. So
Yeah.
it's a weird world. Back on track to markup. Um, you guys lean on the Gartner's Guardian Agents sort of certification. Talk about that and what that means for the future of content.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gardner sort of coined this term guardian agents a while back, and it was as we were really building out our solution, and we spent a lot of time with Gardner. We're a client. We do a lot of briefings. We do a lot of inquiries there as well. And those guys are super smart about the software world, and their point and sort of the origin of the term guardian agent is that the only thing powerful enough to check AI is AI.
Right.
And which is, I always say, like, the only thing strong enough to cut a diamond is another diamond.
Yep.
And that's the term guardian agent. So it's AI to check the AI. And the reality is our agents will check human content as well, not just AI content. But the power comes in when you're checking kind of hundreds or thousands of things or millions of things all at once that you really need AI to do.
And there's a concept of a deterministic trust score when
Mhm.
you have AI track AI or check on AI. Explain that.
Yeah, I mean, all of our agents have algorithms that score. Most often, unless a client really wants to get granular and see a 0 to 100 score, we will bucket things into low, medium, and high risk.
Right.
And that tends to do the job for most clients. That high risk has to be human in the loop. Medium and low risk just fix. But any determinism can come with an algorithm that produces a score. Again, back to my earlier example, if a comma is missing, it's not going to be that big of a deal. If you are saying something that's out of compliance with a claims substantiation law, that's going to be a real problem.
And is there like some way to check what you guys have done? Like, is there like a false negative or a check or anything like
Yeah,
that
we
for
we
you
have
guys?
agents that check our own agents.
Ah, okay.
So there is an extra loop on that.
Amazing. Definitely, you're marketing and selling safety, and you're checking yourselves. So I think that's amazing. What are some of
It's
your
I would
future?
say we're selling safety and confidence, but we're also I think selling productivity.
Hmm,
And in the case of search AI search visibility, we're selling a revenue driver. If companies,
right.
if your content can't get found, you can't get found.
I absolutely believe in that. The sponsor of this show is Huckabye, and they are in the search visibility phase. Maybe let's talk about that a little bit. Where do you think this space is going? Obviously, the old world of Google search is no longer there with AI results coming above the fold, and most people using AI to discover brands these days. What is your take on that?
I mean, that's here to stay.
Yeah,
It's interesting when you look at you look at the different AI services, and they really the quality varies pretty widely. When they default you to an old model, or if you decide you're going to
yeah,
use an old model because it's cheaper, you're going to find stuff that's out of date. People who use things like Perplexity, which are like up to the minute, RAG optimize, are finding things that are really current. Freshness is a real test that you want to use with that. But I think whether it's Google layering in Gemini's output or people going straight to Perplexity or something else, people are just going to increasingly be turning to AI to look for things. And I mean, the difference in the results is incredible. You ask Perplexity a question, you get back a table comparing 5 different products against the 3 things they know you care about.
hmm
That's a pretty big difference than getting a page of links, which is sort of the old school work. So, Google's obviously figured this out too. It's sort of puts that up top. But I'm not sure that's exactly the best engine for that output. At least today, Google's got plenty of resources; they can make that better and better and better.
And the old way is paid search. How does that get translate into this world? Do you see a path ahead for neutrality there?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting when you think about it. I would say the current regime is that paid search is getting a little less impactful. I expect that will change over time because economics dictate that it will.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. Look, if everybody starts doing, $20 a month subscriptions to these things, to use their preferred one and to use it in a memory focused mode, maybe not. I mean, the reason that paid
Oh,
search evolved is that search is free.
free.
And chewed up a lot of compute and a lot of everything at Google and Yahoo and Microsoft. SEM was a really good way of recouping the costs of that. If the world moves to a subscription model, maybe that doesn't need to be there. My guess is even if it moves to a subscription model, you'll start seeing that in search results. And, hopefully that evolves the same way the SEO versus SEM world did, where things are flagged and at least you know what's sponsored versus what's organic.
I like that insight very much. I think like maybe everybody will have a $20 a month subscription just as they have car insurance. And
More than and my guess is more than one. They'll
yeah,
have a
more
couple
than one.
$20 ones, and then they'll have the $100 one for the max work.
Right, right. It's certainly I do. I have a couple and I have $20 ones too. So you're right.
Yeah.
Talk about the world of, I guess, search in a year's time or 2 years' time. Where do you think it's gonna go? I'm interested in this question as well.
Yeah, I'm not really an expert in search, so I don't know that I'm the best person to ask. I mean, I would say, uh, the public data would suggest that Google's not losing share.
Hmm.
I find that a little hard to believe. Um, and I can't reconcile that though. And the only reason I find it hard to believe is that there are a lot of people I know that are using the different models, not Gemini, for search. And maybe I know a really small segment of the population, but and Google certainly built a reflex over the last 25 years, that including a verb, Google. so,
Yeah,
um, a little unclear to me, but there has to be some fragmentation coming. But you never know with big tech. Perplexity could start eating share, and all of a sudden someone buys them,
yeah,
and that could be Google, doubling down if they're allowed to, with antitrust, or it could be someone else that decides to, to really pick up that user base, pick up that technology, and um, I think it's impossible to tell. I think, quite frankly, it's impossible to tell where anything is going beyond a few months out,
yeah.
because the pace of change and the pace of development is like nothing I have seen in my career in
Yeah.
technology.
Well, and the one thing, markup is policing is that it sounds to me like the avalanche of AI slop that's coming out there, and we all see it. There's a bunch of stuff on your LinkedIn feeds, on your everywhere. And what is your, I guess, take on that? Like, how do you feel this AI slop problem will be, I guess, dealt with?
Well, hopefully we deal with it. And the world turns to us to deal with it. And, we've built a business that's really easy to embed in lots of other solutions. We are not a monolithic standalone thing outside of workflows. But realistically, not everyone in the world is going to use us. And I don't know. I mean, AI automates bad behavior. And the reality is the internet automates bad behavior too. And I'm not sure everything has been solved around that. And
Yeah.
I don't think everything's going to be solved around AI slop either. Maybe the machine to machine reading will either mean that it's not a problem because they can cut through slop, or surfaces the problem more efficiently to solve.
What do you think about AI influencers and user generated content?
There are a couple of them that I follow, who have really smart things to say, and who definitely influence us here. That are, I would say, they're sort of more power enterprise, B2B influencers. I don't focus a lot on B2C AI influencers, and I don't know if there are any. There probably are some. But the thing with AI is, again, coming back to the previously unimaginable, it's really about power users exploring and pushing the boundaries and then recording what they did and what worked and what didn't work. So a couple of the people that I pay attention to are like Camille Bank or Bank, BANC, Nate Jones. They both have really good Substacks, where they just go into like either something they did that worked, something they did that didn't work, or something a client of theirs tried. And those end up being really, really helpful.
Matt, what's the next 6 months to a year look like for markup, and what would you consider this 2026 being a great year capping off? What would happen
Yeah.
there?
Well, we launched our platform last week. So the rest of the year is all about adoption. And for us, that's moving our legacy clients over as well as selling new clients. We're off to a great start on both. So it's early days, and therefore adoption matters, and obviously client impact and results. And our roadmap is fairly straightforward. More surfaces, more agents and functionality, deeper memory, so that every client who uses us and adds another agent, another surface, or another employee to the team, the capabilities are just better and better and better.
Well, where can we keep up with you guys? What is your most active channel? And we definitely will have my audience follow you guys.
Yeah, so Markup AI is the name of the company. My email is matt@markup.ai. LinkedIn is probably our most impactful channel, although we do have a blog that you can get off of the website, markup.ai. And yeah, lots of new product coming out every week.
Thanks, Matt. It was a pleasure having you on, and I learned a lot from this interview. Um, Please hang on after, and we can have a little chat.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Yohann.